Hey, this is Deidre. Welcome to the show. Today, I'm speaking with someone who is amazingly talented. He's a recording artist, a worship leader, an author, and an actor. And you may have seen him on the hit television show, The Voice. And you also may have had a chance to see him on tour with his mega talented sister, who is an author and actress, Priscilla Shirer. So talent runs in this family. But every time I run into this guy, we have the best conversations. So join us as we discuss redefining success, how to deal with not fitting in, and how to overcome loss, and much more. So please welcome my very special guest, Anthony Evans. Here we go. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Deidre. Thank you for having me.
Man, it's been way too long. I haven't seen you in person in a while.
Yeah, it's been actually a ridiculous amount of time. So I'm glad this worked out. I'm glad this worked out.
I know, but I do see you on social media though,
Doing
all the
too,
time.
doing too much. Yes, especially now because that's what else we gonna do?
I know. I mean, everybody's on social media right now. It's really great though. I mean, I love seeing what people have to do. They're just being so creative. And so as a creative myself, I love
Yeah.
it. I want to talk to you because you have found a way to do the same thing. You know, what seemed like, a really challenging and difficult situation, you've grown from that. And I'm specifically talking about like this whole quest for music and industry and all of that. So, I mean, tell me about how that journey began for you.
Well, the overarching thing I wanted to say, because of what you're talking about in general, is I think that we have a choice. The bottom line is we have a choice in a setback to look for what it's setting you up for. And you, in that setback scenario we were just talking about, that was actually a setup for you to figure out how to do all this stuff on your own. And that's what happened with me. In my career years ago, I was told, by people, well-meaning people, like, you're not gospel enough, you're not CCM enough, you kind of don't. So I could have allowed that setback of not fitting in. I had to make a choice. Are you going to be disingenuous to who you know you are, and then potentially be successful not being yourself, which means you have to sing stuff you don't like for the rest of your life? Or are you going to stay in who you know God's created you to be? And so I decided to stay in that. It was hard, getting dropped and getting like all these things of, we told you this doesn't work. And then, but in that moment, I kept going because I knew what I was called to do. I wasn't called to the industry. I was called to the church.
Yes.
And they were still having me, and I was still, so bottom line is I kept moving forward. And in that, I had to learn how to do everything. So that was a setback, but it set me up to learn how to do everything from lights to production to like whatever it is, buses. Like, I knew how to do all that stuff. So now, we fast forward all these years later, is I produce all of our family's events. Everything we do touring wise comes out of Sherman James. This right here is a production company that started because I didn't fit.
Wait a minute. Wait.
No, it was a lot real fast.
No. So your company is producing all of the things. By the way, for those of you that don't know, he's a part of the family of families. Father is Dr. Tony Evans, who just released his own study Bible and commentary, by the way. Okay. He's brilliant. Founder of the Urban Alternative. Your sister is Priscilla Shirer, who's a friend of mine too. I love Priscilla, but you all may know her, of course, from the movies, The War Room, Overcomer. She's probably doing another movie, isn't she?
When this is over, I mean, yes, she probably will.
I actually called her. And I was just calling to check on her, and she was actually on the set filming War Room at the time. I was like, "Girl, where you at?"
She's like, "Can I call you right back?"
You're right. I'm filming a movie. Excuse me. No, I'm so happy. But your family, your brother, I mean, just all of you are doing tremendous things, and you have such a unique place in the body of Christ and in the world. And I was just wondering, with all that you were going through, I'm sure that they were supporting you on your journey, just whatever you felt like God was calling you to do. So when the doors were shutting, what did your family members tell you?
it's what my family members, my dad, being him, has always had great advice for me, but it's almost like what he didn't say. It's what he did. Because my dad didn't fit either. My dad, earlier on in his ministry, he didn't necessarily fit into a mold, but he pushed into what he knew he was called to do. And he actually became a trailblazer because of that. You know what I mean? Like if I tried to walk through these trees behind me right now, there's currently not a trail. But if I pushed through, there would be a trail where I walked.
You better preach.
That is, what'd you say?
Preach.
I'm just saying, that's what my dad did. Life looked like this, and he decided to push through, and now he has people, and namely his kids, following his footsteps. And that's what he did, more than tell me. So I didn't know that this would all be a full circle moment for me now, but that's what it was, is I watched my dad know what he was called to do, whether or not success came with it. And he actually, major thing he told me was to redefine what success is to me. Because in those Nashville days, he was like, yo, if you get hit songs, I'm telling you, and you're compromising yourself, you're going to have to sing stuff you don't like. And that's not success. And so after number ones and selling all these records, you can't take that and go write a check for peace. So that's not success. So you have to redefine what success is. And that's what I did.
It seems like that's where you are now. Like when I look at you and when I see the things that you're posting, I just discern that you're in such a good space internally.
Yes.
You know, because this industry can have you comparing yourself to other people, you know, wondering, you know, if you're not as successful as the next person, if if you're not touring with these people and on this label and all of that. I just think there's such a beauty. I want everyone that's watching to get this, that when you feel like you don't fit in, there's a good chance that you do fit in somewhere else. You fit in on the path that you're supposed to be going on. And the thing about Trailblazers, you haven't seen my son Evan in a long time. He's huge, by the way. He's a football player. Yeah, he's huge. But my battery went out in my truck in the garage. So I said, Evan, can you come and push my truck out of the garage so I can, replace the battery? Of course, it was pretty easy for him, but the initial push was the toughest. But after that, the momentum of the wheels, of the going and moving, it was easier to push after that. And I feel like with Trailblazers, when you're doing something different or things you've never done before, it's the initial push that's the hardest. But once you get going, you get into a flow. Has that been like, have you experienced that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've experienced that quite a bit. I could just say, there's so many things that come to my head of different times where that's happened, but yes, I've experienced that. And it's choosing, it's that initial push, getting over that. And then it's so much easier to take the next step. And a lot of times the first step is the hardest. And I have gotten to a point now where God has shown himself so many times where I'm excited to do the initial push that's hard. Because I know what this is about to turn into. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know what the outcome is going to be. Just from it's like you have a track record. After a while, you can look back and see, oh, wait a minute. Man's rejection became God's redirection for my life. And that redirection it's kind of like, I didn't mean to preach, but when I'm talking to people like you, it just gets me all excited and stirred up.
Oh, that's great.
But it's kind of like when you go to the bowling alley and they have those little bumpers that you can put up for the kids, or myself who's inexperienced at bowling. You put them up, and those rails, when you throw the ball down the alley, it may not go straight, you're inexperienced and you just hit a wall, but those bumpers make sure to redirect that bowling ball back in a space where you have a greater chance of hitting the pins. And I feel like the grace of God is like that. Grace, mercy. I feel like the Holy Spirit has a way of leading and guiding us and getting us to where he wants us to be. So
Absolutely. Agreed.
And I want to ask you about The Voice. How in the world did that happen? I turned on the TV. I was like, there's Anthony.
You're like, what is he doing? Yeah. So I'm moving this over just a little bit. I was in that place I mentioned where I was in between record deals because my first deal dissolved, and then I got a phone call. Well, actually, I saw before it even came on TV, before The Voice came on, I saw something. It was like NBC is gonna, do whatever, this whole thing. Then The Voice at that point, because they were new, were reaching out to, like, they were auditioning and reaching out. So that they saw a video of me on YouTube that was submitted, and I was at the house with Jeremy Camp. You know Jeremy Camp,
Yeah,
right?
I know
At
Jeremy.
my house in Nashville
That's
with Jeremy. He was
crazy.
like, just do it. He's like, why not? Just do it. It's so different. It'll be outside of your thing. And for me,
Wow.
it felt like going on a game show. Like, it was just kind of like, okay, let's see. And then it kind of perpetuated itself, and it opened it was weird because it was just weird to compete sing, which is not what we do. We don't
Right.
sing to be seen. So that's a different energy, that you put behind it. But what people don't know about The Voice is that it sent me on a whole different trajectory. Like, I'm obviously still a worship leader and love that, but Christina Aguilera had us over for dinner one night, and she looked me in my face and was like, you can do whatever you want. Like, you have this how did she say it? It was her and Jewel, and she was like, she said the trailblazer thing. She said, it's a different way because I know we do different kinds of music, but people expected me to be this little blonde, cute bubblegum pop girl, and I made decisions to go another direction. And she's like, when I made those decisions, I was scared to death, but I became a trailblazer, and you have that same energy. And to have the best in the world, not just her, but the producers and like everybody around was like, where have you been? Like, I don't understand why. The casting director of the show, before I went on, she in the audition, she stopped me and threw her pen down, and she goes, why are you 30 and I've never heard of you? Like, what's that about?
Exactly.
And it's because I was operating in a world that is my roots is gospel music, obviously worship leading, but that's the only world I was operating in. And our gifts, my gift, your gift, the people watching, their gifts, they're not made for just within the four walls of a church. That's God gives us those to encourage each other, but also to reach and step outside of those four walls. So The Voice perpetuated me thinking outside of the box and
I love
believing
it.
in myself, even though I
And
went home
when
early.
I saw you on there, I said, okay, so now the trajectory is shifting. This is going to propel him even further. And so, okay, I actually have a story. Mark Burnett actually said, you should be on my show.
Yeah, yeah.
I just didn't have enough courage to even, I was like, what, me? Are you joking?
Yeah.
So that must have been the times they were actually reaching out,
Yeah.
to different people. He was at the church and saw me singing.
Yeah.
But but I will tell you this, after meeting him, I ended up doing the theme show song for Roma's television show, Answer Prayers.
That's great.
They called me for that. So, I mean, you never know. I agree with you that we can't limit God. You think I'm a worship leader, so I should only be leading worship. But to me, God is so unlimited. We're created in His image and His likeness. So why would we put limitations on what we should be able to do?
Right.
I've never
Yeah.
understood that. You have new music out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
tell me the title?
Okay. Well, here's what I'm doing right now. There's an album called Altered that's a year old, but then our family has just gone through a whole lot in these past 2 years, and there were songs that were encouraging to me through that time. And so I re-recorded those. My band and singers are just the greatest at taking whatever's in my head and making it sound. Sorry, did this bird just come land on my shoulder? It's so loud.
The birds are like, did you call for singers? Because I got
she is so close. I'm so sorry. Let me know if that's too much. I don't know.
No, I love it.
Okay. I picked the songs that were the most dear to me during that time and re-recorded them. So there's Here Again came out last week. Yes, I Will came out yesterday or today. And then there's more. It's like a single a week for 4 weeks. That's what's happening right now on top of the album that came out last year. So
I
that's
love it.
Yeah. And it's from just a genuine place of these songs help me. And I hope that they do the same to you as you hear them again for the first time.
For sure. I mean, like you said, your family went through so much just in the past few years. The loss of your cousin, I believe, and of course your beautiful mother. And I wanted to ask you, how did that experience alter, no pun intended, um,
Great. That's
your view of God or faith? Because I'm sure, I mean, we were all praying, God, please
mhm.
heal her here. You know, we want her to extend her life and all that. And then things go in a different direction. How do you process that?
Yeah. It is. That's a very interesting question. I just have to get to the place where I'm like, yo, you're either gonna believe this or not,
Yeah.
because there are questions, and I do feel like God answered our prayers, but sometimes He gives you answers where you're like, that's not what I meant. Like that's not, you know what I mean. Uh,
Exactly.
but He also knows what's best. Like I think about it, one of the one of the ways that it's been felt some resolve is going through this pandemic and dealing with our mom at the same time, where only one person can go to the hospital for a 24-hour period, or she can't have visitors and all that stuff. I was just like, yo, God knew that this was coming, and He made a decision to not have us live through this moment with her and trying to navigate, because that would have been a whole other level of, and we would obviously, I want my mom here, I want her healed, and I want her here, but He knew even that nuance, and there's a bunch of other nuances that He knows that I'm not aware of. So I have to make a decision to trust Him in spite of the fact that it doesn't make any sense to me. And it started with our cousin, but after that, and my poor dad has just been through it. He lost his brother, then my cousin, then his sister, then his dad a month before he lost my mom. So it's been like over and over and over again. And at some point you just have to go, you know what? I'm gonna make a decision. I'm just gonna make a decision to trust the Lord and believe, um, like childlike faith. So
Yeah.
it's not been easy, and we're still processing it all.
You do have to get to a point where you rest in the sovereignty of God, and you have to say to yourself, at least I've had to, my sister passed away not too long ago. It's like,
Sorry.
man, He does all things well. And I just had to say, you know what? God knows so much more
Mhm.
than I do. And so when we're praying for His best in this instance, this was His best. And honestly, heaven is so much better. I mean, who would not want to be there, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So I'm like, no more suffering. I mean, cancer just ravaged, my sister's body, and it
Mhm.
just so many different things. It's horrible what happens to the physical body,
Yeah,
but we're spirit beings,
yeah,
so we never cease to live,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
I just think it's good to talk about these things, especially right now. There are people that have lost loved ones during this pandemic.
Mhm.
And I wanted to ask you about the role of therapy in your life,
Oh,
because I think I saw that you do go to therapy, right?
yeah, I love it. I love it with all my heart. I think it's so good, and I will tell everybody that I love it. I really don't. It has. I don't know. There were stigmas around therapy to me are crazy. That's like having a stigma around, I don't know, like taping your ankles before a basketball game when you know you got weak ankles, or doing anything
Right.
preventative. Like I said this the other day, retrofitting my house in LA is retrofitted for earthquakes, because unfortunately, they happen around in that area. So they built it and retrofitted it for that. So worst case scenario, if there's an earthquake and they're shaking, I will have to like put pictures back up, readjust, but I won't have to rebuild from the ground up because I retrofitted. I built it with that in mind. So people think you have to have issues to go to therapy, and da, da, da. And yes, that it helps when you have them, but it's also retrofitting. I couldn't
Mhm.
imagine going through the shaking that's happened in my life the last 2 years and not being retrofitted for it. My artist self would be a mess, because I'm already like emotional and all over the place. So I'm just saying, I believe that therapy has retrofitted my life and my heart and gotten me to a place where I protect my peace. I've created boundaries. I'm very thoughtful about relationships. I make decisions on how is this going to make me feel like, and that sounds, I have to explain that a little bit, but like in relationship decisions or people I've led in my life, even for the sake of business, how am I going to feel? What am I saying no to when I say yes to them? Am I saying no to my peace when I say yes to you coming in my life? Then I'm not doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
so many. I mean, that's the very tip of the iceberg. But but therapy has changed my life, and I want everybody who needs it, which is everybody, to do it.
Absolutely. I actually I live with a therapist. My husband, he actually does counseling every Thursday at the church.
Oh, I love
And
it.
he just sees, I mean, people from all demographics, you know, you name it. He sees it. And
Mhm.
I think it's really important to be able to express in a safe environment what you're dealing with. And I think therapy can help give you tools
Yes.
to navigate uncharted territory in
Yeah.
your life, because there's always someone that has gone there or has wisdom. It's just such wisdom in speak to therapy. So if you're watching here and you feel like you need therapy, but you're embarrassed if somebody finds out, listen, forget about all that. Your soul is most important. Your spirit, your total well-being is what's most important. And you know what? Why don't you pray for the people who are watching? Can you
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah, for sure. God, we are thankful for you for today, for our lives right now. I pray that you would help us to see what you are setting us all up for in this moment that's a worldwide setback. We are grateful for your presence, for people who are watching who are having a hard time. I pray, God, that you would show them what the next step is, that you would show them what it means to choose faith and believing in you over the fear that's justifiable, but not bigger than you. I pray that you would show them how to choose faith over fear. We are grateful for your presence and how you work all things together for good, and we are clinging to that right now. And again, for my brothers and sisters who are watching, I pray that you would speak peace into their life, and again, show them what the next step is as it relates to pursuing health, spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever they need to be pursuing. And give us courage, God, and we're grateful for that. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's such a blessing just to be able to visit with you today. And you know, if you don't have all of his music, his book, all of that, go download it today. Get the book. Just get all of it. This is my brother. This is my friend. And I'm just so honored that we got a chance to talk today. Anthony, thank you. Love you always. I'm always in your corner.
Thank you very much. And I'm in your corner so much so that I spent the last 2 days listening to all of your listening to all your music.
No.
Yes, I have. I mean, yes.
Oh, wow. I'm so honored. I'm beyond
scrolling through. Yeah, it's amazing.
Thank you so much. And tell everybody I said hello.
Yes.
I just love you. So we'll be watching for all the upcoming things, the next tours, the new record, and the records beyond this one.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Excited. God bless you, man. You all, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay blessed.